Ready? We good? Okay. You ready? You guys ready? Ready? Good. If I could grab everybody's attention, please. Hello? Can everybody hear me all right in the back? Good? Okay. Before we begin tonight, I want to note that we will be adhering to our new procedure bylaw, number 704-2024. This bylaw was adopted unanimously in February in response to changes to provincial legislation, and village staff had advised council that we had not been following it correctly. This is partly due to the fact that several of the procedures are different than what we've done in the past, but we now need to be consistent with our procedures. This means we'll be making extra effort to apply the new bylaw correctly going forward, and we've asked staff to provide assistance such as using timers and noting procedures as needed. Following procedures is also important when considering the disruption at the last council meeting and at the Finance Committee meeting. A council meeting is a place for official business of our village, and the noise from residents at the last meeting meant we could not hear each other at the council table, and it was extremely distracting for staff and council. The same applied to the Finance Committee meeting, where there was so much disruption noise it was difficult to note votes in favor and against. The village staff had to do a follow-up to confirm the correct count. In addition to the disruptions to the business of the meetings, we heard from members of the community who were in attendance who told us they didn't feel safe. That's unacceptable. We have also been hearing that staff have been yelled at and treated with rudeness and disrespect when trying to serve our community. This includes our public works crew members who are at work in the community daily and our staff assisting residents at the front desk at the Village Hall. Hearing that our residents do not feel safe at village meeting and that other staff are being mistreated is extremely disheartening. This type of behavior completely contravenes our respectful workplace policy, and we'll be adhering to it tonight. At tonight's council meeting, we'll be following our procedure bylaw to the letter, and excessive noise and disruptive behavior will not be accepted. To help remind everyone about the new procedure bylaw, I'd like to ask our CAO, Ms. Elrick, to provide an overview of some of the key procedures that guide our process at this meeting. Ms. Elrick.
Thank you. So the Village of Anmore initiated an update to its procedures bylaw as a review had not been conducted for several years and in response to changes of the Local Government Act. A couple of key procedures in this bylaw have not been followed, particularly at the last council meeting, and I'd like to highlight these areas for council's information and for those who are in attendance tonight. Regarding delegations, each delegation has 5 minutes to present their information. They're also welcome to submit materials to the village, and this information will be circulated to council. We will be using a timer to ensure each delegation is allotted the same amount of time, and this time can only be extended through a motion passed unanimously by all members of council. Regarding conduct of the public in this bylaw, comments made during delegations, public input, and question period must be directed to council. It's important to note that comments and questions will not be acknowledged if they concern a matter where a bylaw or matter may be subject to a public hearing, or where a public hearing has been waived or not permitted. The Anmore South OCP amendment application falls under this category. Another key component of the procedure bylaw is that no member of the public attending a meeting may cause a disturbance, disrupt, or in any manner delay the conduct of business at a meeting. Thank you.
With that understanding of our procedures, Council will not be responding to any questions or comments related to Anmore South or other bylaws that may be subject to a public hearing or where a public hearing has been waived. That does not mean that you can't speak to Council members to share your input or ask questions about Anmore South. I know all of Council has made it clear that they welcome residents to reach out to them directly. I, for one, have actually met with a couple residents in the last week to discuss the proposal. Our contact information is clearly on the website. I also want to emphasize that yelling, heckling, clapping, and other noise disturbances will not be permitted, and if they occur, we'll be recessing the meeting immediately until we can resume the meeting in a professional environment that allows us to clearly hear the discussion and information shared, and that all points of view are appreciated and heard. For the delegations, you each have 5 minutes on your presentation. If you have more information than you can cover in that allotment, we certainly welcome you to submit that information to the village, and it will be distributed to all of Council. As my final note before we start this meeting, I ask all of our community to please be respectful to village staff. They are a small team that work incredibly hard to serve our community, and they really do an amazing job. I'll now go on to the Village of Anmore. Would like to open this meeting by recognizing the many Indigenous peoples of the area, including the following First Nations with communities that are located in the region that we now know as Metro Vancouver. They are the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Coquitlam. Further, we would like to honor the important place in history occupied by the many territorial keepers of these lands and waters since time immemorial. I'd like to call the meeting to order. The agenda. We have Fripp from BDO, who was with us previously in our in-camera, and he's going to come. We're going to move him up to right above approval of the agenda as amended, so that he can do his report and doesn't have to hang around the whole night. So could I get someone to move and second that adjustment to the agenda? Second, any discussion? Seeing all those in favor? Carried unanimously. So we're going to be moving 11A 2024 financial statements to following the adoption of the agenda. So with that being said, could I get the agenda as approved as amended? Moved, second. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, we'll now move up to Paul, please.
Am I good? Yeah? Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much for having me join your meeting this afternoon. My name is Paul Fripp, and I'm an audit partner with BDO Canada LLP. We are the auditors engaged by the village to conduct the audit of the annual financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2024. Currently, there we go. Okay. So these financial statements are in draft, pending final approval by Council. And then following that, we attach our signed audit opinion. At this point in time, our audit is substantially completed, and we do propose issuing an unqualified, unmodified audit opinion, which reads as follows. In our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the village as at December 31st, 2024, and its results of operations, changes in net financial assets and cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. Okay. I'm going to take a couple minutes to go over some of the key financial highlights of the financial statements. First, I'd like to start off by noting that the accumulated surplus of the village increased by 2.4 million from just about 79 million to just about 82 million. Of that, financial assets stayed relatively consistent year over year. And overall liabilities of the village decreased from 9 million to about 7.5 million. The primary driver for the decrease in liabilities was that at the end of the fiscal year ending 2023, the building that we're currently in was finishing construction, and as a result, there was a large number of construction payables and holdbacks that were inflating liabilities to 9 million. Overall net financial assets as a result have increased from 9.2 up to 10.8 million. Of the non-financial assets, the vast majority of the non-financial assets, approximately 71 million, is composed of the village's infrastructure. That represents the roads, sewers, water mains, as well as the building that we're in here. That has remained relatively consistent year over year at approximately 71 million. Under the statement of operations, revenues decreased from 9.3 down to 7.5 million. Again, that's because there was government funding received in 2023 associated with construction of the village hall, which was a one-time transaction. Expenses increased from 4.3 up to just under 5.2 million and are roughly on budget. The financial plan budgeting for roughly 5.1 million. As a result, the annual surplus was approximately 2.4 million for the fiscal year ended. And that concludes the prepared remarks for this evening.
Good. Any questions from council? Sorry. Any comments, questions? Could I get someone to move the recommendation that the 2024 financial statements be received? Moved. Second. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, move on. We'll now move on to public input. Matters raised here for council's consideration. Please limit comments to 2 minutes, and they must be pertaining to tonight's council agenda. Okay, we're now going to move on then to delegations. Councillor Trowbridge.
Yes, I'd like to, there's a request in to extend one of the delegations from 5 to 10 minutes. I'd like to make a motion that we grant that extension and offer the same courtesy to the other two.
Okay, someone second that? Second? Any discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor? Carried unanimously. There is a clock, so the first delegation is Mr. Melpass. If you can come up, and there is a clock here to your right. You don't look like Mr. Melpass.
I know. My apologies for Mr. Melpass. As usual, he isn't here, and he has delegated me to speak on his behalf. I hope that's acceptable to Mayor and Council.
Yeah. There's the, just keep an eye on the clock if you
yes.
can there. Thanks.
Please.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Name it, if you could just give us your. Yeah.
My name is Rod Rempel, 12 Maple Court, a resident of Anmore. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and esteemed Council, staff of Anmore. I thank you so much for extending it to 10 minutes. I was really pushing to get this under 5, so now I'll probably be short. I stand before you representing the Anmore Neighbours Community Association, otherwise known as ANCA. And we're here because we truly care about Anmore. Our objective tonight is to share our objective this evening is to share our perspective on the process to date, explain why we feel the current ICONA submission is not a responsible nor a preferred plan, and propose a thoughtfully outlined framework for planning the future of our village, and to advocate for our council to prioritize the safety of our citizens, preserve our community values, respect our environment over the desires of a development company. Our perspective is that Anmore South process to date has been developer-driven within the village's required framework. Community consultations have been tailored to only take feedback on ICONA's vision of the development. Open houses have been clearly designed to support a developer's plan. Retaining our rural designation was not offered as an option in any of these. The consultants' and technical experts' work has been discredited, incorrect, and misleading. It has been presented in council chambers and at open houses as accurate and factual data. Issues of paramount importance like evacuation plan, traffic, population growth, housing types, economic viability, ecology, and our village lifestyle were oversimplified and overlooked. Technical studies were clearly done with a goal to provide a positive feedback regarding the ICONA plan. Mayor and Council's concerns over sanitary sewer and the diversity of housing seems to promote the ICONA development. While ICONA is promising to bring sanitary sewer to Anmore South, but only if an urban development of significant size is approved. Further to this, the studies that were initiated and funded by the developer have excluded many fundamental issues like wildfire evacuation plan, construction traffic over a period of 25 years, phasing of costs versus the revenue, accurate comparison data for alternate zoning. Suggestions by ICONA to manage the additional traffic load created by the development are being promoted as benefits to our community. Examples of this are 4 lanes on Ioko Road, numerous traffic lights or roundabouts at high traffic intersections, reducing parking spaces per building, adding pullouts for buses, creating the David Connector, and increasing TransLink services. This is not our preferred plan. The financial study, the independent financial study, included many incorrect assumptions and errors. It also excluded any updated analysis on zoning alternatives. The CD and RS1 zoning analysis used was outdated data from 2021. The traffic study excluded considerations around existing regional growth. It also excluded the heavy construction traffic throughout the entire 25-year development period. The study confirmed that our current roadway system could only safely service 40% of the development. Also, at the open house, the traffic consultant for Bunt indicated that the scope of work he was allowed was very limited. The consultant further indicated that a traffic study would have included a proper traffic study would have included a regional transportation plan. He cited North Vancouver's recent approach as an example. There are issues that need to be resolved before a decision regarding our village future can be decided. Is there a real and honest traffic plan that works? Is there an updated and accepted evacuation plan that includes all new or planned developments? Do we want to lose our identity as a rural village community and triple our population? Do we want to control the changes to our village or allow developers to make the decisions for us? Is sanitary sewer and diversity of housing worth approving this massive development? Do we understand the risks that follow if we adopt this OCP amendment? We request that the Village Council consider the following. Develop an updated vision for our community, work with our neighbors in Port Moody and Belcarra to gain a broader view and their perspectives, commission our own impartial technical studies, and to be a leader when it comes to civic engagement and thoughtful process. This is our community. Let's work constructively together. We invite you to come out to the Neighbors Town Hall on May 8th at the Anmore Elementary School, 6 to 8 p.m. In conclusion, we're requesting a referendum on this change to our OCP. And although you've made it very clear it would be non-binding, it would allow us input into the decision process regarding the future of the village we love. Please consider this. It's the right thing to do for our community. Thank you again for listening to me, and those are the thoughts of Anka.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Please, could I, please, there's no clapping. Please, no clapping or cheering. Now, could I ask Mr. Lyons to come up from the Anmore Residents Association?
Yeah, my name is Neil Lyons. I'll be representing the Anmore Residents Association tonight. Oh, the timer. And we too are grateful that you've extended the time. So thank you, Mayor and Councillors, for allowing us to come forward today with our delegation. We are here on behalf of our members to discuss our concerns regarding the ongoing proposed land use change public consultation. Many of the residents are confused by the process that the village has selected in receiving public input. We believe that much of this is due to the fact that the process seems to be Icona-driven. This has created an aura of distrust in our community, and residents feel that the process is being conducted to facilitate Icona's application, leaving the impression that the council's minds, quite frankly, are already made up. Consequently, the resident body are getting increasingly frustrated and feel that their democratic rights to having their voices heard is being compromised. We are here today to try to address what we consider to be a transparency crisis. I'd like to start with some statements of some facts. The village was formed based on a vision, that of Hal Weinberg and Bob Hunter, known as the Anmore concept, that the residents wanted to remain semi-rural and autonomous from the encroaching development of Metro Vancouver. In 1987, a referendum was held, and 78% of Anmore residents voted in favor of maintaining an RS1 one-acre zoning. Most of the residents that live in Anmore came here or live here by choice because they love the quieter semi-rural lifestyle, which is still close to the city amenities. They consider their village to be unique and very special. The village conducted a consultation process in 2020-21 to help give them better insight of the mood of the community. It was revealed that the residents did not have much appetite for land use change at that time. In 2021, there were a number of reasonably sized protests along East Road and Sunnyside against changing the land use from rural to urban. A group calling themselves the Save on Anmore Coalition collected over 400 Anmore resident signatures calling for a referendum on the matter and presented the petition to Council on January 11th, 2022. More recently, Councillor Doug Richardson has sounded the alarm that at the Council meeting on April 1st, 2025, the Council needs to ask the people what they want. Icona have been mailing out literature and holding information sessions with the support of Anmore's administration, selling their vision, leading the residents to believe that this is an assumptive sell on behalf of Icona, and it is supported by the Village Council. A large group of residents attended the April 15th, 2025 Council meeting, with many of them demanding a referendum, which was denied by Village Council. I believe that's the meeting that Mayor McEwen was referring to. ARA recently conducted a poll asking 69 of our members the question, would you like a referendum? 33 responded yes, and there wasn't one no. So what our research is telling us? In general, major land use changes do not automatically require a referendum. However, in situations where legislation specifies that the assent of the electors is needed, a referendum or assent voting is the only way to obtain approval. This often occurs when land use decisions have the potential to fundamentally alter the structure and governance of an area. For example, if an issue is controversial or requires a significant contribution of taxpayer dollars, or is significant in scale or impact on the community, the local governments may decide that it is more appropriate and cost-effective to proceed directly to assent voting. The question of procedural fairness and bias. This is dear to our hearts and our organization. We wish to speak to the existing ongoing process that has been selected. Mayor and Council have already admitted that the process is proponent-driven. We believe that the process goes much further and can be described as proponent, which is Icona, dominated. It is our opinion that Greg Moore's previous background as a mayor of Port Coquitlam and chair of Metro Vancouver give him the insight and skills and relationships to push Icona's request for an OCP and rural to urban land use change through. In other words, he has an unfair advantage over us ordinary citizens who may oppose him. For this reason, it is imperative that this council pay very, very close attention to the legislation which requires the key principles of procedural fairness, such as the right to be heard and impartiality. The question: it is our opinion that the current OCP land use consultation process lacks transparency, excuse me, mainly because the fundamental question that should be asked appears to be deliberately avoided. And the consultation has proceeded based on the assumption that the land use change will be passed. It appears that our council and city officials are conducting this process by putting the cart before the horse and have forgot to ask the primary question of the residents: do we want it or not? Advantages to holding a referendum: Anmore is a small community with approximately 2,500 residents or 800 households. These demographics lend well to arranging and conducting a vote on the land use proposal in a cost-effective way. Although referendums aren't perfect, they are still the most democratic way of determining the residents' preferred choices. Conclusion: Icona Properties have been pitching their vision for 5 years and actively involved in driving a one-sided consultation process, using our village facilities and resources to lead that process. As evidence, we offer up the April 24th open house, which was advertised on signs as an Anmore Village initiative, but yet it was staffed by the number of Icona representatives, with Icona CEO Greg Moore taking center stage right there. We believe this is a direct affront to the consultation process and shows bias in favor of Icona. We have heard enough from one stakeholder, that being Icona. It is our opinion that council have breached the residents' trust by giving them too much latitude to promote their vision. We need to hear from the other 2,500 residents. Only a referendum can fix this tainted process. We are asking tonight that one of you make a motion to ask that question of the residents of Anmore. Are you in favor of an OCP amendment and land use change from rural to urban, yes or no? That's simple. This one simple move will go a long way in reestablishing our trust in council. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lyons. Could I have our last presenter, Mr. Moore?
Thank you. It's great to be here tonight. I thought everybody was here to listen to the auditor, so I was a little confused why you'd mixed that all up. It's also great to be here at a major milestone in this project. You know, I know my previous two speakers think that this has been rushed and we've been pushing this through, and I guess I'm not allowed to use the skills I've gained over my career to further my career, but here we are. We started this process when we submitted our official community plan submission in December 2021. It wasn't a full submission, but it was a submission to get the ball rolling. That submission was in place during the last election, for which I would argue that the ballot question in that last election, Mayor McEwen said, "I don't believe in single-family homes on this site," and Mario said, "I will only vote in favor of 1-acre lots." It was clear. It was all throughout the community. At the elementary school, it was clear that that was the tone of that all candidates meeting. And you know what? The mayor received, 65% of the vote. That seems like a pretty clear direction from this community. After we submitted, After we submitted our OCP application, we then came forward and brought in May of 2023 a full OCP full OCP application. In December of that same year, we received first reading. Following that, it was recommended that a neighborhood plan be conducted so we could get into the details and we could roll up our sleeves and collectively invite the community to participate in that process. That was endorsed by council, the terms of reference, for which we have followed that terms of reference. We also submitted that it should be a developer-led community engagement process, as is done in pretty much every other community in Metro Vancouver. But council made the decision to separate those two things, to have the community engagement process led by the village. Of course, it was going to be supported by the data that we were providing because we are the applicant on private land. Every citizen, every landowner in this community can make an application for a land use change on their land. Whether it gets approved or not is not up to us, it's not up to anybody in this room, it's up to the 5 of you. And it's our job to put together what we think, what we hear from the community, a good application. We think we've done that. During the process, since we started this journey in early 2021, we have had 28 different public engagements. Like, that is just mind-boggling. You're right, I have been in this a long time. I have learned a lot along the way. I cannot think of one process when I was a city planner for the city of Port Coquitlam, when I was elected to the city of Port Coquitlam, or at Metro Vancouver, any process that went through and engaged the community that many times. And in fact, they're talking about a referendum. Well, there was a survey that was just conducted and it was closed on Friday or Saturday. That had a postcard that went to every house in this community to ask them to vote. Who knows what the results are, but that seems pretty conclusive. We'll see what that says. That will probably provide us some direction or provide council some direction. But what we did is we wanted to do things differently. We really did. When we started this, as much as some people in this audience don't want to admit it, some of them in the audience were actually there, we started with meetings where we literally started with a blank piece of paper. And we said, what do you see the future of Anmore to look like? And people did put diversity of housing. People put commercial and rec centers and trails and homes on there. Then we held a really big open house where we had 128 boards of every piece of input that people got to vote. Right down there on the elementary school gravel field. We put out flyers. I've just brought, we went through our archives in our office here, dozens of flyers to engage people, to ask them to contribute, to come to these meetings. Then when we submitted our application, the village council then led the community engagement. Since then, we've had 3 community open houses. We have had focus group type meetings where residents could sign up and have smaller group meetings. We had 3 of those. We have had committee meetings. We've had a council workshop. It's been on the council agenda, I don't know how many times, 10, 12, 15 times, for which time we have 2 or 3 residents that speak every time to it. So for some of these residents to come forward now and say that there hasn't been an opportunity to engage is really, frankly, just disingenuous. I get it. I was elected. There are people that don't want growth. There are people that want certain type of growth. There are people that want nothing at all and they would like to leave it as a forest. That's all part of the process. But there are a lot of people that want diversity of housing in this community. There are people that want to have commercial. They want to have amenities. They don't want to have more single-family sprawl. I think when we look at this, we've always talked about Metro Vancouver as well. Well, yes, Hal had a vision for this community, and one of the visions that he had when he was mayor and when they approved Metro 2040 and the OCP at the time was that IOCO lands at the time were a special study area. I was on Metro Vancouver. I was the mayor of Port Coquitlam. We have a special study area in Port Coquitlam. Those were made up to ensure that areas of transition where the community didn't know where it was going to go, they didn't want to lock into what it was today, but they wanted to have the flexibility in the future. That was there when Hal was mayor. It's carried on with Metro 2040, and now this council endorsed it with Metro 2050, and it's still there. Your own OCP provides direction. There's 4 policy points in there that if you're going to do some development on the IOCO lands, that you have to follow these 4 policy points. We're also in the OCP as hillside residential. We're allowed to do 1.8 lots per acre. But we want to do more than that. We want to do not more units more lots than that, but we want to bring in commercial, we want to bring in a rec center, we want to bring other amenities in to make this more of a complete community. There's been a lot said about the professionals. You know, we hired the best professionals that we could find, from Placemark to Bunt, who's one of the biggest transportation engineering firms in Western Canada. We hired Aquaterra. The owner lives here in Anmore and has done a phenomenal job of the environmental aspects. We hired Deloitte to do the financial things. That was then approved or reviewed by all of your professional staff, and fair enough. The Anmore Community Association is going to go find a couple of professionals here or there to poke holes in things. That's their right. Go ahead, fill your boots. It's then your job as council to determine, who do you believe more? Who has the more credibility? Who is bringing more information and facts to the table? This isn't anything new when a NIMBY group gets together and starts to tackle an issue. Please, 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 please. We're proud of the plan that we've brought forward. This is a plan that has a diversity of housing. It allows young people to stay in Anmore, allows people that want to retire and have a condo to stay here and not have to move out. In fact, on the weekend, I ran into a fellow that ran for council in 2014. Doug, I can't remember his last name. Sulbert. Lived here in Anmore. His two kids moved out. They couldn't afford a house in Anmore. One lives in Coquitlam, one lives in Port Coquitlam. And Doug lives 2 blocks from Patina, and he's there. And I ran into him, and he said, I wish I could have stayed in Anmore, but I didn't want to have a big house anymore. These are just the examples. Like, with our land use plan that we're submitting, 42% of the land is going to be parks and environmental space, far exceeding your own bylaws, far exceeding if we did what the community likes to call a CD zone, which really means smaller lot, single-family zones. And we think that with the commercial and the amenities will provide a really great community flavor. We'll actually help maintain the rest of the community by bringing in that different tax base and bringing amenities closer to the community. The other thing that I think is important to recognize as we go through this process is Anmore isn't an island. Anmore is in the province of British Columbia. It's in the country of Canada. The provincial government has been extremely clear about new land use planning. There is no such thing as single-family homes anymore. The new federal government has been extremely clear about doubling the housing output. We all need to be a part of that solution. We need to do it together. And then finally, it's been really disheartening to hear people talk about us as the greedy developer and all this sort of stuff, when in fact we've been in meetings with people in this room that say they don't want those people in this community. And they're referring to renters and people that live in townhouses. And you know, as someone that served and as my whole career as a city planner, as an elected official, now even as a business owner, is to try to make society better and more inclusive. It is just really disheartening to hear that type of attitude. I would hope that we can work together and move this project forward, but the ball is now in your court. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's the end of the delegations. We have the minutes of the regular council meeting held on April 15th, 2025. Could I get someone to move that recommendation? Moved? Seconded? Any discussion? Yeah, Councillor Weberink.
I think it says regular council meeting agenda, not minutes.
Did you catch it? Okay, perfect. Thank
Okay,
you.
sorry.
Yeah,
I just noticed it just before the meeting.
Any other things? Okay, with that fix and being amended, I'll call all those in favor of those minutes. Carried unanimously. Is there any business arising from the minutes? No, seeing none. We have a consent agenda. Any council member who wishes to remove an item for further discussion may do so at this time. Councilor Weber.
Sorry to be a pain, but parking bylaw. Parking bylaw 710-2025.
7B.
Yes,
Okay.
Sorry? 7B. Yes, 7B, sorry.
Okay. Anything else being pulled? There's only 2 items. Okay. Could I get someone to move the consent agenda? Moved. Seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimously. We'll now move to 7B. Councillor Weberink.
Thank you. I spoke about the parking bylaw before and about adding some just non-resident parking in various areas of the village. And I noticed that that didn't happen. So I just wanted to separate these bylaws so we vote on them individually, and I wanted to vote against the parking bylaw.
Okay. Is that
That's all I have to say.
okay, Ms. Elric?
Through the chair, so if the parking regulation and/or highway regulation bylaw amendments are not adopted this evening, then staff would recommend also not adopting the fees and charges amendment or the bylaw notice enforcement amendment, because of course those relate to fees and fines
So we can't
in
separate
the
them?
bylaws.
No.
You could separate parking regulation and highway regulation.
Okay.
And depending on the changes, I would need to look at the changes to see if it would be appropriate to adopt
Okay.
the subsequent bylaws.
Councillor Irving?
Yeah, I may be the only one that votes against it, so
Okay.
it may be a moot point.
Okay, well, let's get it moved. Could I get someone to move the recommendation? Move, seconded? So any discussion on the item that you'd like?
Not
that you have
anymore, no.
concerns with?
But I think I just stated.
Oh, did you?
my
Okay.
Concerns, yeah.
Okay, any other questions, concerns? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We'll now move on to the legislative reports. We're on to new business, the council policy review. 11B. Ms. Essen.
Thank you. Through the chair, staff was directed to conduct a policy review at the end of last year, and staff did that review, and we found a few that are dated and not working with the current procedure bylaw, as well as it was going against the community charter. Therefore, we are recommending rescinding those policies as listed in the agenda. In addition to that, staff drafted a council policy development and maintenance policy just to create a framework for council policies to be drafted and written in the future. Also, to ensure a clear separation between council and admin policies, we also came up with administrative policy development and maintenance policy. That is the attachment 2, and the rest of the attachments are here in front of council for consideration to rescind.
It was like these were historical, some of these historical documents, seen Pam Blackman, the mayor, signing some of these in '92. So I guess this is very much a housekeeping thing. Thank you. Could I get someone to move the recommendation? Moved, seconded. Any discussion? Councillor Richardson.
It's interesting because it is a bit of a historical walk back through time. But like for policy number 11, which is the museum policy, which was kind of fascinating to read, it's about the museum, but it's also about the artifacts in the museum. Do we have anything covering the artifacts that we currently have? Because if we rescind this policy, then the artifacts are essentially free in space, are they not? Please.
Through the chair, thank you for the question, Councillor Richardson. Policies are in place just as a measure and guides us to, when it comes to our actions and how we sort of conduct the artifacts that we have in place. However, minus the policy, it doesn't mean that we can just freely get rid of things. We will certainly look, if this is the council's direction, we can certainly look into drafting another policy. And I don't know if Ms. Elric also would like to add to that.
Ms. Elric.
Sure, thank you. Through the chair. In terms of artifacts or items, I guess I would say from the Ma Murray House, we do have downstairs an art installation of some of the paneling. I think we also have a window, and then there's some other cataloged items that were done probably about 6 or 7 years back now that are stored in our storage. Absence of a policy as as Ms. Essen said, that would not necessarily determine that we would do anything with these artifacts, but certainly they're in the safekeeping of the village right now.
Including a printing press.
Yes, I forgot about that. Thank you.
Councillor Richardson.
And then policy 44, like it says a new one is being prepared. Isn't it better to rescind when the new one is already there? So I'm much more comfortable with that in general.
It is entirely in council's discretion to pull policy number 44 and then rescind the others if that's deemed appropriate. But this is precisely being followed currently. It is being developed, and it will come to council hopefully within the next meeting or so.
Next meeting.
Hopefully.
Okay. I'm more comfortable, so I would move that we remove policy 44 from the list of rescinding.
So
Is
make
that
an
a motion?
a friendly amendment?
It could be a friendly amendment. It could
okay.
be an angry amendment. I don't care. It could be an amendment.
Okay, that policy number 44 be stricken from the resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Could I get someone to second that amendment? Second, okay. Any discussion on the amendment? No? Okay, we'll go back to the main motion. Any other comments? See none? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to volunteer engagement policy 11C. And this is Ms. Elrick.
Thank you. As we have our beautiful building here, where there's been events growing and more opportunities to engage with our community volunteers, with that, staff has taken initiative in development of a volunteer engagement policy that just set out some of those framework pieces for residents who are wanting to volunteer. This is fairly consistent with other policies that other municipalities have. Additionally, the Community Spirit Award has historically been awarded during the Mont Murray Day celebrations in September. In most other communities, it is awarded along with the Volunteer Appreciation event, which, as you all know, we had last night. So staff is recommending that we shift the Community Spirit Award over to the Volunteer Appreciation event. The other good thing about doing that is we've found that we've struggled over the summer to get the nominations in for Community Spirit Award because a lot of people are on vacation, and we've been weaning in responses as the years go on to award that at the beginning of September. So this might also be a better time of year to engage with folks and get nominations in. And then additionally, we've just been providing a certificate to the Community Spirit Award recipients. So staff would recommend that a small budget of $250 be allotted to get a bit nicer of an award. So the recommendation this evening would be the Volunteer Engagement Policy number 83 be approved, that the Community Spirit Award be presented at the Volunteer Appreciation event held during National Volunteer Appreciation Week starting in 2026, and that a budget of $250 be included in the 2026 budget for the Community Spirit Award.
Get someone to move that? Moved, seconded. Any discussion? Councillor Richardson.
Just one quick thing. Have we done police record checks before? Like, I'm in support for that, for working with youth, et cetera. But have we actually done that before?
Through the chair, for people that are working with vulnerable persons, we do get police record checks.
Yeah, good. Good question. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Howard. Okay. We'll now move on to the mayor's report. Just a couple things. I think everybody from council attended an absolutely amazing volunteer appreciation night last night. It was well attended. Big thank you to staff. Staff worked really hard. The food was amazing. The whole evening was really, really nice, beautiful. And it was so great after a 6-year absence to be able to host it in this beautiful building, and got lots of compliments in regards to the night and the event and everything. So I just wanted to thank staff again for a really great job. This Saturday we have the POCO May Days, which I think three members of few of us are council, or it's an annual event. We are able to rustle up some collector cars and we go down and enjoy a May Day breakfast, and then we cruise around with the cars with Mayor West, and then we make our way. This year we have this Saturday the Anmore Community Market is on, and fingers crossed that the weather is going to be great, and it should be an amazing event. So I really urge everyone to come out. It's our first market, and really looking forward to it. So that's all I have. I'll open up to council reports. Councilor Weber.
Yeah, a lot of the same stuff. I just want to thank all our volunteers in the village for all the hard work that they do. We very much appreciate it. It was a very nice evening yesterday. Sorry. POCO May Day. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. It's really good to engage with all local councils. Unfortunately, my car is broken this year, so I had to borrow a car from Councillor Trowbridge, which is really the only reason I know him. Borrow a car from him. And I want to thank everybody in the crowd today for, maintaining a level of decorum. We appreciate that. I think it's really important for respectful discourse. And we have to make decisions on things, and we need to hear everybody. And it's very nice to see a crowd that respects the process. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Richardson.
I just want to say I was the acting mayor for the Easter egg hunt. And for those of you who are disappointed I didn't show up in my bunny costume, it is only because there was another bunny present and I didn't want to confuse people with multiple bunnies. Maybe next year. But I just want to say, I always hear there's no young families in Anmore. There were piles, and I don't know any of them. So if you see me walking around these events, please come over and say hi, because it's weird being in a crowd of 500 people or whatever was there, and you don't know anybody. So lots of young families, good fun event, and I like the Spirit Park and the things that we do here. So that's that.
We need to get Councillor Richardson a shirt, an Anmore shirt. Maybe that'll help out or something. And yeah, I don't know if the bunny costume will help you be recognized, but anyway. Any other? Councillor Cryer.
Thank you, Mayor McEwen. A couple of things. I want to say a belated congratulations to Coquitlam Search and Rescue. They won Not-for-Profit of the Year at the Tri-Cities Chamber of Commerce Business Excellence Awards earlier in April. I attended Mingle with Mayor Stewart, put on by the Chamber of Commerce. Again, the volunteer reception, lovely. Thanks to our volunteers as well as Sabina for doing such a great job. The dementia workshops have completed. We had 3 weeks of them. I'll be following up to get some input from the organizers and some feedback and a little follow-up on what our next steps are. But I've had a couple of requests to do the evening. It was about an hour and a half, 2 hours that we did quite some time ago, pre-pandemic. So I'm gonna do a little bit more research on that. It sounds like the evening hours might be a little easier for folks to attend, so I'll be working on that. Attended LMLGA in Whistler last week. The highlights for me were the Fire Smart walkabout in the village of Whistler. They have a full-time Fire Smart person that works with residents to assist in clearing away brush, as well as just helping them do the job, because it gets to be quite a bit for some of the aging residents. Fostering Indigenous partnerships was very good. The closing keynote was Vaughn Palmer, who's always entertaining. And the usual building relationships with our neighboring municipalities and similar sized villages. It's always good to hear what's going on in the other municipalities. And we had a little movement in becoming compliant with the accessibility, which I'll speak with Ms. Elric about and keep everyone updated as things progress. And the community market you already mentioned, looking forward to that.
Councillor Trowbridge.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief. It's, there's a lot of redundancy. We'll be at the May Day parade, but I'm just looking at Councillor Wevering. I'm gonna, as soon as we break free from that, I want to come back here to the market. Yeah, I'd rather be here, but we've done it for so many years, they count on us now, so we have to do that. And I'd also really like to extend a thank you to everybody as well for being civil and listening to each other. Appreciate it.
Good, thank you. Move on to our Chief Administrative Officer's report.
Thank you. A few reminders this evening. May 1st was the start of watering restrictions throughout Metro Vancouver. So if you need a refresh on what that means, we have our information up on the Village's website, as well as Metro Vancouver posts their information. Utility payments are due on May 7th, which is tomorrow. So if you haven't already got your payments in, please make sure that you do that in time. Scholarship applications are out for the Dr. Hal Weinberg Scholarship, and those are due May 16th. So if you know of any high school students that would want to apply for that. Additionally, we are still undergoing our community volunteer recruitment for our committees. So please take a look at that if you're interested. And all of these reminders and items are included in our newsletter. So please, if you are not signed up for our email notification, lots of great information comes out to the community. We have a very good rate of subscribers, but always want more folks to be subscribing so that we can outreach to the community. And lastly, we've had a couple questions about what exactly is happening in Spirit Park. So that is some work that is being done by Fortis on the high pressure gas line. So we have not been informed on exactly when that's going to be complete, but if and when we receive any further information, we'll be sure to communicate that out to the village as well. Thank you.
Let's hope that it's completed by Saturday for our market. Okay, we have some correspondence. Correspondence dated April 15th from the City of Pitt Meadows regarding elected officials attending LMGA conference. Correspondence from the City of Burnaby regarding proposed development financing amendments. Before we go to public question period, Ms. Elrick, if you could just reiterate the procedure bylaw in regards to what we can and can't discuss regarding the public question period.
Sure, through the chair. Would you like me to go over all of the items or just specific? Just go, I can quickly go over the list.
Go, please.
Yeah, so the following rules apply to public input, question period, and delegations. The questions, so now we're at question period. Question periods must be directed to council and will not be acknowledged if they concern something that does not fall within the jurisdiction of municipal council, where a bylaw or matter may be subject of a public hearing, or where a public hearing has been waived or not permitted, is a subject of legal proceedings, involves publicly tendered contracts or proposals that have not been awarded, is regarding administrative, operational, staffing, or labor relations matters, is regarding an application, permit, or license not yet considered by council, involves information considered by council in a closed meeting unless that information has been released, questions promoting a business or service that has no connection to the business of the village, or questions that promote a political party or candidate for elected office.
Good, thank you. So open up to public question period. Is it 3-minute time limit or 2-minute time limit applies to speakers? And again, we will not be able to comment on anything related to Anmore South. If you could state your name and address, please.
Is the mic on? Okay, Lisa Johnston, 180 Hemlock. I'm going to try to weed this out so that I don't talk about anything I'm not supposed to talk about. Good evening, Council. I have a question about the official community plan. Is that something I'm allowed to question about?
Ms. Elrick?
Through the chair, I would say that depends on what the question is, if it's
Okay,
related.
So I'll start my question, and then if you feel that you need to shut it down, I guess that's what'll happen. So Anmore's OCP was adopted in 2014, correct, I think? It included a recommendation to review and update it by 2018. That still has not happened. Now council is considering an amendment. This is deeply concerning for several reasons. The current OCP is over 11 years old.
Can I
Okay,
just-
I'll take that line
yeah.
out.
I just wanted to clarify something. In
Yeah, please.
2018, the OCP was amended.
It actually, let me just see here. It was amended regarding infill.
Yeah, in 2018.
Correct, and in 2019, it was amended regarding, just let me check my notes, the Anmore Green Estates sewer.
Yep.
So the village as a whole, so actually, let's just have a conversation here. In 2014, it was a year-long process to review the OCP, which involved all of council, the Anmore planning committees, the villagers, the school, exterior consultants, a year-long process to create the OCP for the village as a whole. In that 2014 OCP, it recommended redoing it, revisiting it in 2018, which did not happen. So the 2018 that you're referring to was just regarding infill, not talking about the village as a whole. So I'll carry on. The current OCP is now 11 years old. It still references Metro 2040. While the updated regional metro strategy, Metro 2050, is now in effect and requires member municipalities to align their plans. Metro 2050 emphasizes protecting rural and conservation areas, and Anmore lies outside the urban containment boundary. So proceeding with any type of amendment when you actually haven't done a community-wide OCP.
I'm just cognizant of the
Okay, my question is, why has the village not updated their OCP in 11 years? And does council believe it's appropriate to entertain a large
I think we better stick with just
OCP?
the
You got my
first
point.
question.
You got my point?
Yeah, Ms. Elric, do you
So
have any?
why have we not updated it since 2014?
I'll do my best to respond. It hasn't been a pertinent issue, to be quite honest. And also, it's a very expensive process as well.
It's expensive, but I guess the concern for many people is you're taking an OCP application which amends, and how are you using our current OCP as a guiding principle for strategies when it right now aligns to 2040 Metro, and you actually have to align to 2050 Metro? So how do you take an application when you don't even have an existing strategy?
I would suggest give me an email and I'll explain it to you better in person, because
I don't want it in person.
Okay.
Actually, okay, there's my answer.
Thank
So
you.
you don't want to answer?
Ms. Elric?
Thank you. Through the chair, if you do have questions about planning and land use, you're most welcome to reach out to staff.
Yeah.
Josh Joseph is our planner that is in-house, and his email information is on the village website.
Yeah.
I respect that, but actually I was instructed that we're supposed to direct our council questions to council, and so that's what I was doing tonight, was directing my council question.
you.
And my final note actually is with regards to the delegation, Mr. Moore, they did do a lot of public engagement. They did a lot, which was great. What we're missing is the engagement with you guys.
Okay.
Ken Uvick, 120 Lanson Crescent. Through the chair, after listening to the delegations tonight, my curiosity was piqued. And my question is, I guess to council, do you see a distinction between a rebuttal and a delegation? The process to get a spot for a delegation is quite onerous when you go through the staff at the village hall, and certain procedures are in place, and it's not so easy to get on there. But for the second time tonight, I witnessed Mr. Moore coming up following other people presenting.
I'm going to have to ask you, Mr. Yu, if you could ask a question, please.
Well, do you see a distinction between a rebuttal and a delegation?
I don't schedule delegations. I would have to ask staff that.
Well, can somebody answer that?
I don't know.
Well, can Karen answer that?
Through the chair, I'm not sure what you're referring to as a rebuttal, but the delegation process is clearly set out in our procedure bylaw.
Okay.
Thanks.
Leslie Hannigan, 1065 Thompson Road. My question is, can you please explain to me what it means? Like when we've asked for public input about other proposals other than this, we're told that you are legally obligated to consider this proposal. And I want to know what that means. Does that mean bring it through to the first, second, third reading and then public hearing? Because that's kind of the sense that we're getting. Like what does that mean?
Ms. Eller?
Thank you. Through the chair, I think we have this posted on the website, but if you send me an email, I'm happy to point you to the requirements for considering an application of this type are under Section 460 of the Local Government Act, but I'm happy to provide a link to you if you'd like to reach out to me.
I think I've seen that. One of the options was to reject it. The other thing is, so is that exclusive? You can't have any public input about anything else because is it an option to, okay, we can have, legally obligated to have public input about this, but sure, we can have input about this too, but we don't get that. So is it an exclusive thing? We have to only have it about that one proposal?
Ms. Eller?
Through the chair, I'm not actually really sure what you're asking. In terms of the input, we're following our procedure bylaw, and in terms of the requirements for a development application, we're following our requirements under the Local Government Act.
Correct. What I'm asking is that whenever we're asking for public input about whether or not we want to change our OCP, we are told you're legally obligated to consider the application. But nobody is saying that we can have input about other items. And is that not allowed?
Again, we're getting into the talk of the application, so I'm gonna have to ask you.
Pardon me?
We're getting into conversation about this specific application, which
All
is
right.
not allowed. So do you have another general question? Or?
I do.
Okay.
The only last one is, seeing that it was RS1 when the election was held, do you think it's fair that the 4 people here that do not want a referendum think
Again,
it's...
you're asking about a referendum, which is about the application.
Why can't we talk about the application? I missed that.
She's already explained it to you.
All right.
Okay, sorry. Thank
So
you.
the 4 of you can decide Anmore's future.
Thanks.
Trudy Schneider, 2318 Sunnyside Road. My question has to do with transparency and the trust issue that we have sometimes. And I'd like to give you an example. And my question will be, does my memory serve me correctly? It seems to me that when we were going through the election, yes, the use of land was a big issue, but as I recall, there was a glossy brochure put out by either council or ICONA that suggested...
Again, you're talking about an application. Again, we cannot, I will reiterate, we cannot talk about the application.
I'm asking you whether my memory serves me correctly. If I may finish, I saw a glossy brochure that said ICONA's plans had changed.
Again, you're talking about ICONA. We cannot talk about that.
I'm talking about something that happened on the agenda,
Yeah,
and I
sorry.
would like to finish. I'm not talking
Ms.
about...
Elroy? Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Do you have a question regarding something other than the...
I have a question. Yeah.
Okay, please. Yeah.
This way? Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mayor and Council, for my time with you and my neighbors.
If you could give your name and address, please.
Sorry?
Your name and address, please.
Yeah, I was just getting to that.
Sorry.
So my name is Loretta Lyons, and I live at 1024 Ravenswood Drive. So my question is directed to each one of my counselors here. And the question is very, very simple, because I'm quite confused on all this that's been happening. Are you in favor, it's just yes or no, in changing our OCP from rural to urban?
That's again the application. Ms. Elric, yeah. Okay.
It's not,
I'm going to have to... that's the last opportunity. We cannot talk about the application at all, or we'll have to adjourn the meeting.
Can I ask another question?
As long as it has nothing to do with the application.
Okay,
Please,
I got my answer?
Mr. Capel,
Oh, okay.
we don't need that, please.
Okay, so just bear with me, please, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let me just step back a bit. I believe in democracy, and I think each one of you believe in democracy. This is why you're doing this, right? You believe in democracy, I hope. I feel as a resident here that I'm not being heard. I have not been asked if I would like this to be moved from rural to...
I'm going to ask, do you have I'm sorry, we need to stick to our procedure, which is to ask a question.
Okay, so where can I get results from your survey that you did
The
last
survey
week?
the survey will be coming out in the coming week, but you're more than welcome, Ms. Lance, to reach out to any one of
Okay.
us with these specific questions.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, can you hear me, guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My name is Werner de Schatzen, 1058 Magnolia Way. Has the village received approval or support from the city of Port Moody, the village of Belcara,
Again, we
or
can't
Metro
talk...
Vancouver regarding the latest Anmore South plan, as it will impact them?
We cannot have any conversation regarding Anmore South. That's part of a policy and it's part of provincial regulations. So,
Okay, that was my question.
yeah, sorry.
So you cannot answer that question? I think this is going to be important.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Harriet Chang, 147 Fern Drive in Anmore. I lived here for 17 years. I really appreciate the conversation. I'm learning so much tonight. Thank you so much for your time. My question is, when Greg Moore was speaking, he referred to the development only being, this is a question, I promise.
But it can't be about the development.
He did say it was double the population. I just wanted to confirm.
We
We can't comment on that?
No, I'm
Because
sorry.
I
But
heard that.
Harriet,
I just
you
wanted to know if it was double or triple or
Just
more.
email me.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'll come over and we'll
Okay.
talk about it. Okay?
And another question,
Yeah.
I guess my question is, I have always advocated, I'm a school counselor and teacher, and I always advocate with my students to encourage them to speak and ask questions. And I really appreciate all the opportunities that we've had since I've been here to share and ask questions. And when I've asked questions about what the development's going to be looking like and shared my concerns,
Yeah.
I'm just curious, and I guess you can't answer that, and I'm not going to say that word that we can't say right now, but I'm just wondering.
Yeah. Please.
I'm just wondering what that looks like, and I need to know this as an educator as well, because I may encourage students to come here in the future, and I need to know what that looks like. So what does public engagement truly look like? Because I'm working with a future of leaders, and I need to know that. So that's my question.
Process-wise, I'll talk to you about process.
Okay.
If a proposal were to move forward, not saying this one, but something, there'll be a significant public hearing, which everybody will be able to hear. Probably in past, when Ravenswood was approved, or I think even infill, we had 2 nights of open dialogue. And I want to reiterate, it's been very thankful that everybody's been very respectful. But again, this is a public, pardon? This is a public question period about village operations. We cannot discuss, because of provincial regulations, anything to do with the proposal.
I absolutely understand, and I thank you for that clarification. Okay. Thank you. Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.
Nancy Maloney, 1724 East Road, where I've lived since 1995. And can you hear okay?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I have several questions, 2 of which may not be allowed. This one should be allowed. But when will the error in the April 1st council meeting minutes be regarding the incorrect unanimous vote for a survey be corrected? And I'll mention that I was very disappointed that that was not included in tonight's agenda, as it's quite important
Miss
that the
Albright?
official record be
Yeah.
accurate.
Yeah, Ms.
And this
Albright?
correction should be acknowledged and approved at an actual council meeting.
Ms. Elrick?
Thank you. Through the chair, as I had mentioned to you before, the minutes have been adopted by council and were adopted unanimously, and there is not an opportunity for changing the minutes at this time.
Despite the fact that they're erroneous. That's a question.
No.
Despite the fact that there's a significant error in the minutes, they will be a public record.
They have
And
been-
I'm asking, who should I complain to about
You can
this
send
happening?
an email into to village staff.
Through the chair, if you're not satisfied with the answers that you're getting from the village, you're most welcome to reach out to the ombudsperson. That would be who you would contact if you have any issues with municipal government.
Okay, yeah, that's who I thought would be the person. And my other questions relate to the recently closed survey that closed on May 4th. Can those questions be asked?
No, unfortunately. But
So when will be an opportunity to ask the sort of questions that are being prohibited tonight?
Ms. Elrick?
Through the chair, council will be following the procedure bylaw, and under the procedure bylaw, questions related to an item or matter that is either going to be before public hearing or where a public hearing is prohibited, which this falls under that category, are not permitted at council meetings. But as Mayor McEwen indicated, you're most welcome to reach out to staff, to council. There's been various engagement opportunities, and a report with a summary of the most recent engagement conducted in phase 3 will be provided and presented to council at a future meeting.
Sorry, Ms. Albrecht, I want to be sure that I understand. So you're saying these questions can never be asked?
No, that's not what she said.
Sorry?
That's not what was said.
Okay,
But
then-
anyway, please, do you have a further question?
When can these questions, the answer was somewhat confusing.
They can be asked, you can ask any individual council member. But because of the public hearing, that's what the rules are very strict in regards to us bringing those up, so. Anyway, yeah, the question was answered, so can we go on to the next?
Sorry, folks. Jurgen Durkton, 1815A East Road. First of all, I'd like to thank Mayor McEwen for agreeing to put the flag at half-mast after 11 lives were lost at the Lapu Lapu Street Festival in
It was
Vancouver.
actually, it was a council decision and staff.
Thank you. I'm not allowed to ask questions 1 or 2, but I will ask question number 3 because it pertains to a vote. At the Finance Committee meeting, with a great number of residents witnessing, there was a apparent confusion about the vote count. Why didn't the mayor take charge of the situation and put on Facebook, for example, to explain to the whole village what went wrong? Why leave it to the Anmore Times or the Anmore Alternative to try and figure out the public record? Is the mayor of Anmore a private politician or is he a public politician?
I believe that we posted something from the village website regarding that. Did we not, Ms. Elrick?
Through the chair, I know that there were some questions. I responded to your email, and as well, there was some questions on Have Your Say that a response was posted. Additionally, the minutes, draft minutes will form part of a council report related to Anmore South that will be coming forward, and the draft minutes will indicate the vote as well.
I just want to point out that I'm not being paid to correct the village's record, so I would suggest, since you're being paid, you should try and correct it. Thank you.
One more, and then we're going to move motion to adjourn.
Okay, pretend you have a bunch of kindergartners here and we just need some clarification. So we are not allowed to ask questions for any application that's currently under review. So I can't ask you something about Hillside right now or about Cordovato or about Bellaterra or like any developer who has an application, am I not allowed to ask a question? Is that correct? Yes or no?
Through the chair, our procedure bylaw, which is available on the village website.
No, I don't want the
and
website.
we'd
I'm
like
asking you. I'm
Please
asking
let her
you.
finish.
Would you?
Please let her finish.
I'm respectfully asking.
Okay, motion to adjourn. That's what, if you're not going to listen, we'll
Well,
just adjourn.
yeah, can I say that when we email, then we get chatter because nobody knows the answer? So why not just
You have to
explain?
let her finish her conversation.
Okay.
As I was saying, under the procedure bylaw, the rule is that comments made during delegations, public input, and question period must be directed to council and will not be acknowledged if they concern a matter. There's a list of various matters, but I'll just address the one that you're speaking to. And that is where a bylaw or a matter may be subject of a public hearing, or where a public hearing has been waived or not permitted.
Okay, so anything that pertains to a public hearing, we're not allowed. Okay, so then my next question is, if we go to a public hearing on the topic we're not allowed to talk about, a public hearing is you hearing us, correct? But it's not a two-way mutual conversation. So I can't ask you questions and you reply to them.
As I said earlier, you're more than welcome to reach out to any one of us and ask us a question.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So
I would also actually like to ask questions in front of my villagers and in front of all of you, because you all have different perspectives and different answers to the question. I don't want to meet on one-on-one.
I would
right?
suggest then that maybe you reach out to the provincial government regarding the rules that they've implied upon all the municipalities in regards to some of the zoning rules.
So public hearings are just hearing, is that correct?
Yeah.
It's not a two-way question.
Yeah, so.
Then will there ever be a time in a group setting like this where the residents of Anmore can just ask the five of you questions and get answers on a major proposal?
I think that opportunity has been apparent.
With a proponent in the room.
Please,
I want to talk to you guys.
Okay, we're getting off time.
But we're not.
So I'm going to have to call the meeting then, okay?
Sure,
Thank
that
you.
works. That works.
Yeah,
Thank you
works
for your
good.
time.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn? Could I get some moved? Oh. I didn't see her, sorry. Yeah.
Sorry to obsess about these erroneous minutes, but I had one question. Was that done, this is directed to Mayor McEwen, was that done on purpose? Were the minutes, not what had actually happened in the meeting, done in a purposeful way? Or was it done accidentally?
Ms. Elrick.
Thank you. Through the chair, this question has been asked and answered multiple times. The minutes have been adopted unanimously by council. They were prepared by staff, which asserts both by adoption of the minutes and by preparation of staff that they are in fact correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
But Ms. Elrick, would you agree they are not correct?
She's already said they are correct, and they've been endorsed. Thank you.
I would like included in the record of these minutes that the minutes were approved in error.
Thank you.
Mine is fast. Sorry, it's Leslie Hannigan. Yeah. I'm quick. Because I'm kind of confused about this whole bylaw thing, and I'm sorry that I didn't understand it, and I might be wrong, but was that bylaw about not talking about the applicants, when was that created today? Or is that, what is that? Because why could we ask about it in other council meetings? I just don't understand.
Through the chair, it's our council procedure bylaw. I'm happy to provide you with a link to it, but it is on our village website, and it was adopted in February of this year.
Yeah.
February, that as soon as it's up, but it was ready for a public hearing like the last couple of council meetings, and we could talk about it. So why suddenly now we can't? Sorry, I might have it wrong. I'm not trying to be critical. I just don't understand why we could ask questions about the Anmore South development in other council meetings, but now we can't.
If you heard my inaugural speech right at the start, it was that we weren't exactly following them to a T, and that we are going to from now on, so that we don't get any problems down the road with the applicant or with anybody, a legal issue whatsoever. But it is, a lot of it is provincially mandated, so.
Okay, so
anyway,
it was made in February and enforced today,
we approved it unanimously in February.
right? But
Yeah,
made in February and enforced today.
it's being enforced, yes.
Got it?
Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Moved, second, all those in favor? Carried, and signed. Thank you, everybody.